My name is Levi Ackerman. And for the longest time I was convinced that the whole love finds you when you're not looking. Line was a consolation prize. Lonely people handed themselves like a participation trophy. Then, at 3:17 a.m., on a rainy Thursday in Seattle, I woke up to find my very straight, very taken, very off-limits roommate, Noah Callahan, wrapped around me like was the only solid thing in his dream. We lived in a narrow brick townhouse in Capitol Hill, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, creaky pine floors, and windows that rattled every time the 49 bus groaned past. I'd been there for 2 years, writing out the tail end of a master's in urban planning and working part-time at a small architecture firm. The second bedroom had sat empty for months until Noah answered my slightly desperate roommate wanted queer-friendly. No bigots. Must like dogs? I don't have one yet, but I will. Post on Craigslist. He showed up on a February afternoon with rain dripping from the hood of his Carhartt jacket, a duffel bag slung over one shoulder, and a half-smile that made something low in my stomach flip without permission. 6'2", dark hair perpetually in need of a cut, gray-blue eyes that looked like storm clouds over the sound. He was 27. A structural engineer who spent his days on job sites in steel-toe boots and fluorescent vests. He shook my hand with a grip that was firm but not a pissing contest, glanced around the living room, and said, "This'll do." Like he'd already decided the place belonged to him a little. He moved in the next day. Noah was the kind of straight guy who made being straight look effortless. He had a girlfriend, Claire, who worked in marketing downtown and wore red lipstick like it was armor. He talked about her the way people talk about the weather, factual, fond, but not obsessive. He left his dishes in the sink exactly once and never did it again after I passive-aggressively washed only my own plate for 3. He bought the good coffee beans. He fixed the leaky shower head without being asked. He called me dude in a way that felt warm instead of dismissive. I'd been out since I was 17. My mom cried happy tears and baked a cake that said welcome to the club in blue icing. College boyfriends came and went. Nothing ever stuck. When Noah asked, 2 weeks after moving in, "So, you got a boyfriend or anything?" I answered honestly, "Not at the moment." He nodded like that was the most normal thing in the world and asked if I wanted to split a pizza or if I was one of those freaks who liked pineapple on it. I am. He still ordered half with it. We settled into each other's orbit fast. Mornings, I'd be at the kitchen table with my laptop and noise-canceling headphones. He'd stumble in, pour coffee, lean against the counter in sweatpants that hung indecently low, and scroll through his phone while the rain smacked the windows. Evenings, he'd come home smelling like sawdust and wet steel, drop his boots by the door, and collapse on the couch. I'd cook something simple, pasta, stir-fry, whatever wouldn't kill us, and we'd eat in front of whatever trash Netflix served up. He laughed at my sarcasm. I pretended not to notice the way his T-shirts clung to his back when he reached for something on the top shelf. The sleepwalking started in April, the first time. I woke to the soft click of my bedroom door. I slept with it cracked because the cat we didn't have yet, but absolutely would, might need me. Noah stood in the doorway, barefoot, wearing nothing but boxer briefs, eyes open, but vacant. Moonlight cut across the floorboards and painted silver on his collarbones. He didn't speak. He just walked slow, deliberate to the window, rested his forehead against the cool glass for a full minute, then turned and walked out again. In the morning, he blinked at me over coffee. "You okay, man? You look like you saw a ghost. You were in my room at 2 a.m., I said. He froze. "Shit, seriously? I haven't sleepwalked since I was 9. My mom used to find me in the garage trying to build Lego spaceships in my sleep." He just stared out the window and left. It was weirdly peaceful, actually. He rubbed the back of his neck, a nervous tell I'd already cataloged. "I'll lock my door." "Don't," I said before I could stop myself. "I mean, it's fine. You didn't do anything. Just don't, murder me." He laughed, but his ears went pink. It kept happening. Sometimes he'd sit on the floor beside my bed and rest his head on the mattress like a kid waiting for a story. Once he opened my dresser, pulled out one of my hoodies, and put it on backwards before wandering out again. I found it folded on the couch the next morning, smelling like him. I wore it for 3 days straight and hated myself for it. Claire started noticing he was exhausted. "He's burning out," she told me one night when she came over for dinner. "The new bridge project is killing him. He needs to sleep." She said it like I was part of the solution, like I was supposed to tuck him in and read him a bedtime story. I smiled tightly and refilled her wine. Noah got quieter. He and Claire fought more. I heard it through the thin walls. Clipped voices. The slam of the front door, his truck starting to fast in the rain. He came home late, stood in the kitchen, drinking water straight from the tap. Shoulders bowed like he was carrying something too heavy. One night in May, I found him asleep on the couch, a TV flickering across his face. I draped a blanket over him and tried not to think about how much I wanted to crawl in beside him. Then came the Thursday that rewrote everything. I'd gone to bed early. Head pounding from too many hours staring at auto CAD. Rain hammered the roof like it wanted in. I fell asleep fast, deep and dreamless. I woke to wait. Heat, the slow, steady rhythm of someone else's breathing against my neck. Noah was in my bed. Not just in my room, in my bed. Curled against my side like it was the most natural thing in the world. One of his arms was slung across my chest, palm flat over my heart. His leg was hooked over mine, knee pressed between my thighs. His hair tickled my jaw. He smelled like rain and cedar and something I couldn't name. I stopped breathing. For a long moment, I just lay there, afraid to move, afraid the smallest shift would shatter whatever this was. His fingers flexed against my t-shirt, a tiny, unconscious clutch, and my heart cracked open so wide I felt it in my teeth. "Noah?" I whispered nothing. Soft, even breaths. Out cold, I should have woken him. Should have gently rolled him away, marched him back to his own room, laughed it off in the morning. That's what a decent person would do. A decent friend. Instead, I turned my head, just barely, and pressed my lips to his temple. Once. The barest contact. A secret I'd take to my grave. He sighed in his sleep and burrowed closer. Face tucking into the hollow of my throat, I stared at the ceiling until the rain slowed and the room turned gray with dawn, counting his heartbeats against my ribs like I could memorize them. When he finally stirred, it was slow, confused. He lifted his head, blinked at me in the half-light, and realization crashed over his face like cold water. "Levi," his voice cracked. He scrambled back, nearly falling off the bed. "Fuck, I'm sorry. I don't know why. It's okay," I lied. "I'll lock my door." "Or shit, I'll sleep on the couch. Or get a hotel, Noah." He stopped breathing hard, sitting on the edge of the mattress with his back to me. The distance between us felt galactic. I sat up, careful. Like any sudden move might spook him into vanishing forever. "You didn't do anything wrong," I said quietly. "You were asleep." He laughed, a broken sound. "Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it?" Silence stretched, thick and electric. Then, so softly I almost missed it, "I wasn't looking for you." My pulse thundered in my ears. "I wasn't looking either," I said. He turned then. Just enough that I could see his profile, the sharp line of his jaw. The way his throat worked when he swallowed. "I don't know what this is," he whispered. "I don't know what I'm doing. But He stopped, shook his head like the words were too big. "I keep ending up here. In your room. In your bed. Like something in me knows where it wants to be, even when I'm too chicken shit to admit it awake." I couldn't breathe again, but for an entirely different reason. "I broke up with Claire last night," he said to the floor. "Told her I couldn't keep pretending I was all in, when part of me was. Somewhere else, the air left my lungs in a rush." He finally looked at me, really looked, eyes wide and terrified and hopeful all at once. "Levi," he said, voice raw, "tell me I'm not crazy. Tell me this isn't just in my head." I reached out, slow enough that he could pull away if he wanted. He didn't. I cupped his cheek, thumb brushing the stubble along his jaw. "You're not crazy," he said. He leaned forward until our foreheads touched. Outside, the rain had stopped. Somewhere down the street, a delivery truck backfired. Inside our little brick house, 2 heartbeats started, trying to find the same rhythm. Love didn't sneak up on me. It walked straight through my bedroom door at 3:17 a.m., climbed into my bed and refused to leave, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid to let it stay. I woke to the sound of the mattress dipping behind me, the sheets rustling, and then the sudden, possible warmth of another body sliding under the covers. For one disoriented second, I thought I was dreaming. Then I felt the solid weight of an arm draping across my waist, a leg tangling with mine, and the slow, steady breath against the back of my neck. Noah. He'd done this once before. Years ago, after too many drinks on New Year's Eve, and we'd laughed it off the next morning like it was nothing. But that had been different. We'd both been drunk. This time he was stone cold sober. I could smell the faint trace of the mint toothpaste he used. Nothing else in the way he instinctively curled into me felt deliberate even in sleep. I should have moved. Should have rolled over and nudged him awake and sent him stumbling back to the guest room down the hall. That would have been the safe thing. The smart thing. The thing you do when you're best. Friend of 15 years is straight and has a girlfriend and absolutely no business molding himself to your back like he was made to fit there. But I didn't move. I lay there, counting his heartbeats against my spine, feeling the rise and fall of his chest, the way his fingers had somehow found the hem of my t-shirt and slipped just beneath it, resting warm against my stomach. His hair tickled the nape of my neck. He smelled like the cedar soap he'd been using since college and something faintly like sawdust from the workshop. I closed my eyes and tried to breathe normally, like my own heart wasn't trying to punch its way out of my ribcage. This was Noah. Noah who'd punched a guy in 11th grade for calling me a fag. Noah who'd held my hand in the hospital when my mom died and didn't let go for 6 hours. Noah who dated women who looked like they stepped out of magazines and never once looked at me like I was anything other than his brother. Except right now he was. Clinging to me in the dark like I was the only solid thing in his world. I must have tensed. Because he made a small, distressed sound and pulled me closer. Eli, he mumbled, voice thick with sleep, lips brushing the shell of my ear. Don't go. My name in his mouth, slurred and pleading, hit me like a freight train. I swallowed hard. Noah, I whispered. Hey, you're in my bed, man. He didn't wake. Just burrowed deeper, nose pressing into my hair, and let out a slow, content breath that made my whole body light up with wrong, perfect heat. I stayed awake until the sky outside turned the color of weak tea. Only then did I carefully disentangle myself, sliding out from under his arm and replacing my body with a pillow. He frowned in his sleep, hugged it tighter, and settled again. I stood there watching him for longer than I should have, then crept out to the living room and pretended to sleep on the couch. He emerged around 9, hair sticking up in every direction, looking sheepish and rumpled in yesterday's jeans and the Dartmouth hoodie he'd stolen from me sophomore year. Hey, he said, scratching the back of his neck. I did it again, didn't I? Third time this month, I lied smoothly. It was only the second, but I wanted distance. You owe me a new mattress at this rate, he laughed, but it was strained. I'll buy you the Tempur-Pedic promise. Sorry, Eli, I don't even remember getting up. It's fine. I handed him a mug of coffee like nothing earth-shattering had happened. Like I couldn't still feel the ghost of his hand on my skin. Happens. He took the coffee but didn't drink it. Just stared into it like it might tell him what to say next. After a minute, he muttered something about traffic and left for work early. That set the pattern. For the next week, he was a ghost in his own apartment. Technically, since he'd moved into the second bedroom 6 months ago when his lease ended, and Sarah had started dropping hints about moving in together. He left before I woke up, came home after I'd gone to bed, and when we did overlap, he kept his eyes on his phone or the TV, or anything that wasn't me, Sarah noticed. Of course, she showed up on a Thursday with takeout tie and a tight smile. I let her in because Noah wasn't home yet, and pretending I wasn't there felt childish. We sat on the couch, making small talk that got smaller with every minute. When Noah finally walked in, it looked like he'd been caught stealing. Hey, babe, Sarah said, standing to kiss him. He let her, but it was stiff, like he was being embraced by a stranger. The three of us ate on the coffee table. Sarah tried. She really did. Asked about the new commission Noah had at the workshop, teased me about the manuscript I was behind on. But the air was thick with things unsaid, and halfway through dinner, she set her fork down. "Okay," she said quietly. "What is this?" Noah's jaw worked. "What is what?" "This," she gestured between them, then at me, then back. "You're somewhere else, Noah. You have been for weeks. If you're done, just say it." He opened his mouth, closed it. Looked at me for half a second, barely a glance, but it burned and then looked away. I think we need space," he said to the table. Sarah laughed once, sharp and wounded. "Space. Right? Is it someone else?" "No," he said too quickly. She waited. He didn't elaborate. Eventually she left. Didn't slam the door, just closed it softly, like she was trying not to wake someone. Noah stood in the middle of the living room staring at the closed door for a long time. Then he went to his room and shut himself in. I heard the shower run for 45 minutes. I gave him an hour. Then 2. At midnight, I knocked. "Go away, Eli." I went in anyway. He was sitting on the edge of his bed in the dark, elbows on his knees, head in his hands. The room smelled like his cedar soap and the rain that had started sometime after Sarah left. "You okay?" I asked, which was stupid. "Obviously not." He laughed, a broken sound. "I just ended the best relationship I've ever had because I'm apparently a fucking coward who can't admit what he wants." "You're not a coward, aren't I?" He looked up then, and even in the dark, I could see his eyes were red. "I had everything, Eli. Beautiful girl who loves me, plans a future that made sense. And I threw it away because it didn't feel right anymore. Because nothing feels right unless he stopped. Unless what?" My voice came out rough. He stood up suddenly, paced to the window, then back. "Unless I'm here. With you. And that's insane." "That's not, I'm not," he couldn't finish. I took one step toward him, then another, until we were close enough that I could see the pulse jumping in his throat. "Noah." He looked at me like I was a cliff he was about to jump off. "I've been in love with you since we were 17, I said. Calm and steady, even though my heart was rioting. "I never said it because you're straight and I'm not an idiot. But if something's changed, if you're feeling even a fraction of what I heeked me." It wasn't gentle. It was 2 weeks of avoidance and years of restraint crashing together, hands in my hair. My back hitting the wall, his mouth hot and desperate like he'd been starving for this and hadn't known it. I kissed him back just as hard. All the nights I'd lain awake, imagining this pouring out of me. When we broke apart, we were breathing like we'd run miles. "I don't know what this is," he whispered against my lips. "I don't have labels yet. I just know I can't keep pretending I don't want you. I can't keep climbing into your bed in my sleep because I'm too scared to do it awake." I laughed, shaky and wet. "You could have just asked, asshole. Would you have said yes? Try me." He kissed me again, slower this time, learning. When he pulled back, his eyes were wide and terrified and so brave. "Stay with me tonight," he said. "Not because I wandered in half asleep, because I'm choosing it." I took his hand and led him down the hall to my room, our room. Now, I guess. We left the light off. The rain kept falling, soft against the windows. As we learned the shape of each other with careful hands and quiet gasps, and the kind of honesty that doesn't need many words, later, tangled together under the covers, this time both of us wide awake, he pressed his face into my neck and whispered, "I'm sorry it took me so long." I threaded my fingers through his hair. "You're here now." "Yeah," he breathed and held me tighter. "I'm here now." The air in the apartment was heavy with the scent of rain, drumming softly against the windows. I stood in the kitchen, gripping a mug of chamomile tea that had gone cold 20 minutes ago, my heart hammering like it was trying to escape my chest. Noah was sitting on the couch, his broad shoulders hunched forward, elbows on his knees, staring at the floor like it held the answers to questions he wasn't ready to ask. "Liam," he said, voice low, almost swallowed by the storm outside, "I need to say something, and I need you to listen. Really listen." I froze, every nerve in my body sparking to life. Noah had been my roommate for nearly a year, my best friend for longer. He was the guy who showed up with takeout when I was buried in work, who laughed at my terrible puns, who left his gym clothes strewn across the living room like a trail of chaos. He was straight, had a string of girlfriends, a life that fit neatly into the boxes society handed him. And me? I'd been in love with him for months, carefully tucking that truth away where it couldn't ruin everything. Okay, I managed, setting the mug down before I dropped it. I'm listening. He looked up then, his hazel eyes catching the dim light from the lamp. Flecks of green and gold flickering like he was carrying a storm of his own. I'm scared, he admitted, the words raw, like they'd been clawing their way out of him. Scared of what I'm feeling? Scared of what it means, but I'm more scared of not saying it. My breath caught. Noah, what are you talking about? He stood, crossing the room in 3 strides, stopping just short of me. Close enough that I could smell the faint cedar of his cologne, see the tension in his jaw. You, he said simply. It's you. It's been you for a while now, and I've been losing my mind trying to pretend it's not. The world tilted. I gripped the edge of the counter to steady myself. You're what? I don't know what to call it, he said, running a hand through his dark hair, leaving it messily perfect. I don't know if I'm gay or bi or something else entirely. All I know is that when I think about you, my chest feels like it's going to explode. When you laugh, I want to be the reason. When you're hurting, I want to fix it. And when I imagine a future, you're in it, Liam. You're always in it. I stared at him, my mind scrambling to catch up. This was Noah. Noah who'd dated cheerleaders in college. Noah who'd teased me about my terrible taste in rom-coms. Noah who was standing here, looking at me like I was the edge of a cliff he was ready to jump off. Noah, I said carefully, my voice barely above a whisper. This is huge, life-changing. You don't have to figure it all out tonight. I know, he said, stepping closer, his hand hovering like he wanted to touch me, but wasn't sure he was allowed. But I've been thinking about this for weeks. Months, maybe. Driving myself crazy trying to ignore it. And I'm tired, Liam. Tired of pretending this isn't real. What if you regret it? I asked, my voice cracking. What if you wake up tomorrow and decide this was a mistake? Then I'll deal with it tomorrow, he said, his eyes locked on mine, steady despite the tremor in his voice. But right now, the only thing I'd regret is not being honest with you. With myself, my heart was screaming for him to close the distance, to erase the space between us and make this real. But my head was louder, warning me of the fallout. The heartbreak. The loss of the friendship that had become my anchor. Noah, I said, his name a plea and a prayer. Tell me to walk away. If you're not sure, if you think you're reading this wrong, tell me and I'll go. We can pretend this never happened. He shook his head, a small, determined movement. I don't want you to go. I don't want to pretend. Something in me broke open. All the months of guarding my heart, of pretending I was fine with just friendship, crumbled under the weight of his words. I don't want you to go either, I admitted. His face softened, relief and hope and fear all tangled together. He smiled, small and tentative, and it lit up the room more than the lamp ever could. So what do we do now? I don't know, I said, a shaky laugh escaping me. I've never been someone's sexuality crisis before. He huffed a laugh, stepping closer until we were almost touching. I've never been in one. But I know I don't want to lose you. I don't want to lose this. We stood there, inches apart, the rain a soft lullaby around us. Can I stay? He asked quietly. Just stay. I'm not asking for more than you're ready to give. I just don't want to be alone tonight. Of course, I said, my voice barely steady. We ended up in my bed, not touching at first, just lying side by side in the dark. The space between us felt like a chasm and a bridge all at once. Slowly, carefully, his hand found mine under the covers. Fingers intertwining like it was the most natural thing in the world. This is insane, he murmured. Yeah, I whispered, but it doesn't feel wrong. No, he said, his thumb brushing over my knuckles. It doesn't. He fell asleep first, his breathing evening out, his hand still holding mine. I lay awake, watching the rise and fall of his chest, marveling at the impossible truth that Noah, my Noah, was here. In my bed, holding my hand like it belonged to him, morning came soft and golden, sunlight slipping through the curtains. I woke before him, studying the way his lashes fanned across his cheeks, the way his lips parted slightly in sleep. When his eyes fluttered open, there was a moment of disorientation, then recognition, then a smile so warm it melted me. "Hi," he said, voice rough with sleep. "Hi," I replied, my heart doing somersaults. "So, I didn't dream that, right?" "Nope," I said, grinning despite myself. He exhaled, long and slow. "I thought I'd wake up freaking out, but—" He glanced at our joined hands, then back at me. "I'm not. Is that weird?" "Maybe a little," I teased. He laughed, low and warm, and it felt like home. "What do you want, Liam?" he asked, his gaze steady. "Right now, in this moment?" "Coffee," I said immediately. "And maybe waffles." And then I hesitated, then met his eyes. "Then we figure out what this is. What we are." He squeezed my hand. "We're something," he said quietly. "We've been something for a while. We just didn't have a name for it." We made breakfast together, moving around the kitchen with a new kind of awareness. Every brush of his hand against mine, every lingering glance felt deliberate. Over slightly charred waffles, Noah's fault. He got distracted watching me at the stove. We talked. "I don't know what I am," he said, stirring cream into his coffee. "Gay, bi, whatever. I don't have the words yet, but I know I want you in my life. I know I'm attracted to you. I know that when I think about the future, you're there. You don't have to label it," I said carefully. "Not until you're ready. But I need honesty, Noah. I need to know this is real for you. That I'm not just an experiment." His face fell, and he set his mug down with a clink. "You're not an experiment, Liam. You're—" He struggled for words, then leaned forward, earnest. "You're the guy who knows I hate mushrooms, but love extra cheese. Who leaves the hallway light on when I'm out late because you know I hate coming home to a dark apartment. You're my best friend. And somewhere along the line, you became everything else too."
Ow.
My throat tightened. "When did it change for you?" He thought for a moment, his brow furrowing. "It wasn't one moment. It was slow, like watching a sunset. You don't notice the colors changing until suddenly the sky's on fire and you can't imagine it any other way. That's you, Liam. One day I looked at you and everything was different, brighter." I swallowed hard. "I've felt that way about you since the day you moved in." "Really?" His eyes widened. "Really?" I said. "I just told myself it didn't matter, that I should be happy with what we had." "And now?" he asked, voice soft. "Now I'm terrified," I admitted, "because this could break everything. Our friendship. Us." "It won't," he said fiercely. "We won't let it. I want to try, Liam. I need to try." The weeks that followed were a delicate dance. We didn't rush, didn't push past what Noah was ready for. He started sitting closer on the couch, his thigh brushing mine. He'd reach for my hand when we walked to the corner store for snacks. He'd linger when he hugged me, his arms tightening just enough to make my heart race. Our first kiss happened on a rainy Tuesday, a month after that first night. We were sprawled on the couch, arguing over what movie to watch, when I said something that made him laugh, really laugh, the kind that crinkled his eyes. He looked at me, still smiling, and leaned in. The kiss was soft, tentative, giving me every chance to pull away. I didn't. His hands cupped my face, and the kiss deepened, slow and warm and perfect. When we pulled apart, both breathless, he stared at me like he'd just discovered something holy. "Wow," he whispered. "Yeah," I managed. "Wow." He kissed me again and again, like he was making up for every moment he'd held back. But it wasn't all easy. There were nights when doubt crept in, when Noah pulled back, overwhelmed by the weight of what this meant. One evening, we were tangled together on the couch, kissing with a hunger that had been building for weeks, when he suddenly froze. "Wait," he said, voice strained. "I need to stop." I pulled back instantly, my heart sinking. Are you okay? He sat up, dragging a hand through his hair. It's just a lot. Sometimes it hits me what this means, what I'm doing. I spent so long thinking I knew who I was, and now, do you want to stop? I asked, bracing myself. Take a break from us? No, he said quickly, grabbing my hand. God, no, I just need time sometimes. To catch up with myself? I can give you time, I said softly. As much as you need. He looked at me, eyes shining with gratitude and something deeper. Thank you. For being patient. For not giving up on me. For figuring this out together, I said. And we did. Slowly, deliberately, we built something new. He started staying in my room most nights, just sleeping at first, his arm draped over my waist, like it belonged there. The first time he kissed my neck, soft and hesitant in the dark, I felt it in my bones. Good night, Liam, he whispered, and I knew, without a doubt, we were going to be okay. We didn't have all the answers. We didn't need them. Not yet. What we had was real messy, terrifying, beautiful, and real. And for now, that was enough. The apartment in Seattle was too big for one person. So I put out an ad. That's how Caleb showed up on my doorstep in late August. Duffel bag over one shoulder, rain dripping from his dark hair. Looking like the kind of guy who'd played lacrosse in high school and never quite figured out what to do with all that easy confidence afterward. I'm not weird, promise, he said by way of greeting. I just need a place before the semester starts. I liked him immediately. Something steady about him. Safe. Cool, I told him. I'm Noah. Welcome to the chaos. He fell into rhythm fast. Caleb was finishing his master's in civil engineering. I designed logos and album art from the living room couch. He cooked actual meals. I lived on cereal and takeout Thai. He liked sports on TV. I liked true crime podcasts. We were opposites in every way that didn't matter, and the same in every way that did. Nights on the couch with pizza and bad action movies became routine. He called me dude in a way that felt fond instead of distant. I started timing my laundry so I'd run into him in the hallway. Then the sleepwalking started. The first time, I woke up on the couch with a blanket tucked around me that I hadn't grabbed myself. The second time, my bedroom door was open and Caleb was asleep on the floor beside. My bed like a golden retriever who'd decided this was his spot now. I stepped over him carefully, heart hammering, and pretended I hadn't noticed. It kept happening. I'd wake to find him curled on my floor, or sitting in the armchair watching over me, or once actually in my bed. Arms wrapped around me from behind, breath warm against my neck. Every morning he acted like nothing had happened. Weird dream, he'd mutter, rubbing the back of his neck, cheeks pink. I didn't push. I was terrified of what pushing might mean, because the truth was, I'd started looking forward to those nights. To the weight of him beside me, to the way he instinctively reached for me, even when he was unconscious. My best friend Jonah noticed first. You're glowing, he said over coffee. Like, stupidly happy spill. I deflected. Badly, then came the night that changed everything. I'd had a nightmare, the kind that leaves you gasping. I sat up, shaking, and there was Caleb, already halfway across the room, eyes wild with sleep but focused only on me. Hey, Noah, it's okay, he murmured, voice rough. He climbed onto the bed without asking and pulled me against his chest like it was the most natural thing in the world. I clung to him, face pressed to his t-shirt, breathing him in until the panic ebbed. When it passed, he didn't let go. His hand moved in slow circles on my back. I could feel his heart racing under my cheek. Caleb, I whispered. He went very still. I'm awake, he said quietly. This time I'm awake. I pulled back just enough to see his face. Moonlight cut across his cheekbones. He looked terrified. I don't know what this is, he said, voice cracking. I thought I knew who I was. I've only ever dated women. I've never even looked at a guy like this. But it's you. It's always you. Even when I'm asleep, it's you I'm looking for. The words hung between us. I reached up and touched his jaw, giving him every chance to pull away. He didn't. He leaned in instead, trembling, and when our lips met, it was soft, careful. Like we were both afraid the other might vanish. We kissed for a long time, slow. Exploratory, half convinced we were dreaming. When we finally broke apart, foreheads resting together, he laughed once. Shaky and overwhelmed. "I'm freaking out a little," he admitted. "I know," I said. "We can freak out together." The weeks that followed were a masterclass in patience. Caleb needed time. He'd kiss me goodnight, then lie awake staring at the ceiling like it had personally betrayed him. He researched a lot. Read articles at 3 a.m., texted me links with single question marks. Came out to himself in pieces. One night, he sat on the edge of my bed, hands clasped between his knees. "I keep waiting to feel wrong about this," he said. "Like my brain will catch up and go, nope, bad idea." But it never does. It just feels right. Terrifying, but right. I took his hand. "You're allowed to be terrified. Just don't hide it from me." He looked at me then, eyes shining. "How are you so calm about this?" "I'm not," I said honestly. "I'm just better at hiding it. And I've wanted this for a lot longer than you have." He laughed, wet and surprised, and kissed me again, harder this time. Like he'd made a decision. We came out to Jonah together over tacos on a rainy Saturday. He took one look at Caleb's hand on my knee under the table and grinned so wide. I thought his face might split. "About damn time," he said, raising his margarita. To the slowest slow burn in history. Caleb's family was harder. He told them over Thanksgiving video call while I waited in the kitchen, pretending to wash the same mug for 20 minutes. When he came out, his eyes were red, but his smile was real. "There, processing," he said. "Mom asked if you like lasagna. Dad said he'll reserve judgment until he meets you. My little sister asked if you're hot." He huffed a laugh. I said yes, obviously. Christmas was in Spokane with his parents. I was nervous enough to throw up in the airport bathroom, but his mom hugged me before I'd even taken my coat off, and his dad shook my hand too hard and muttered, "Treat him right." His sister took one look at us and announced we were disgustingly cute. Spring came early that year. Cherry blossoms exploded across Seattle, pink snow in the streets. Caleb officially moved into my room. Our room. We argued over whose books got the good shelf and whether plants were worth the commitment. He won on the plants. He named the fiddle-leaf fig Kevin. In May, Jonah's photography got accepted into a big gallery show downtown. We celebrated with too much champagne on our tiny balcony, city lights glittering below us. Later, when Jonah had gone home and the apartment was quiet, Caleb wrapped his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. "This lease is up in August," he said softly. "I'm aware. I don't want to renew it. I want us to find something new. Something that's ours from day one. Not your place I moved into, ours." My heart tried to climb out of my throat. "That's a big step." "Yeah," he said. "I want all the big steps with you, Noah. House hunting. Dog adoption. Fighting over who forgot to buy toilet paper. The whole ridiculous thing." I turned in his arms. "You're sure?" He kissed me in answer, slow, deliberate, full of everything we hadn't known how to say 6 months ago. Some people say, "Love finds you when you're not looking." They're half right. Love found us in the dark. In the space between sleeping and waking, in the quiet certainty of hands reaching out without thinking, it grew in the mess of questions and fear and the slow, brave work of choosing each other every single day. Caleb sleepwalked into my life carrying a duffel bag and every assumption he'd ever had about himself. He woke up in my arms and decided to stay, and that was the real beginning. Epilogue: 1 year later, we found a little blue house in Fremont with a porch big enough for 2 chairs and a dog that still needed a name. Jonah came over for the housewarming, clutching a bottle of wine and a framed photo from his gallery show. Me and Caleb on the balcony the night he told me he wanted a future. City lights behind us. My head tipped back, laughing at something he'd whispered in my ear. "Hang it somewhere obnoxious," Jonah ordered. "I want daily reminders that I was right." Caleb hung it above the fireplace that night. After everyone left, And the dog finally named Pickles? Because Caleb lost a bet, was asleep on the couch that was ours. Caleb pulled me outside to the porch. The air smelled like cut grass in summer. He handed me a small wooden box. Inside was a key to the house, he said, rolling his eyes like it was obvious. But also to everything else. I don't want to wait anymore. I know what I want. I've known since the first time I woke up holding you and didn't want to let go. I stared at him, throat tight. He laughed, nervous. I'm not proposing yet. I want to do that right down on one knee, ring the whole thing when we've had more time. But this is me saying I'm in, all the way. Forever starts now if you want it. I kissed him so hard, we almost fell off the porch steps. Yes, I said against his mouth. Forever started the night you sleepwalked into my bed and forgot how to leave. He laughed, the sound bright and free, and pulled me close. Above us. The stars did whatever stars do. Below us, Pickles snored on the couch that was finally truly ours, and between us was everything we'd built. One brave, messy, perfect choice at a time. Love didn't just find us. We chose it. We choose it still, every single day.